Welcome to Baked Basement Banter. I'm Debbie Friedmann, the director and choreographer of REEFER Madness.
I'm Noah Century. I'm the assistant musical director for REEFER Madness.
So Noah, we worked together before. You actually worked on the first Bonnie and Clyde.
Yes, I did.
We did our first show, and you also were in the band for Adams, actually. So we've worked together a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
So you started as a musician mostly, yeah? So can you tell us a little bit about what you play, how you got into music in general?
Yeah, okay. So I play clarinet. That's my primary instrument. It's what I studied for many years. I went to SEISHEP. I went to university for it. But I expanded into reed instruments when I started joining musicals, and I realized, the actual gigs, the actual jobs are for like people who play multiple wind instruments, so saxophone, flute, and all sorts of other things.
a lot of other instruments that you've since learned, though. You play a lot of instruments. Can you give us like a list of all of the instruments you would feel like confident playing in a orchestra right now?
So flute, clarinet, E-flat clarinet, bass clarinet, alto clarinet, soprano saxophone, alto saxophone, tenor saxophone, bari saxophone, and then I think I'm forgetting a couple. But then like some like non-wind instruments, I can also play a little bit of piano.
Yeah.
I play keyboard in a Mamma Mia production.
Nice. Yeah, that's true. You just did that this summer. That's fun. Yeah. So you did a lot of music. A lot of music. Obviously, a lot of music training. And how did you find music direction? Like, why was that something you decided you wanted to learn more about or get interested in?
It first started when I started getting involved in musicals, and I saw the way cast were playing around with each other and having fun, and the creative team, the way they're talking, and I realized, that's a lot of fun. That feels like a really good vibe. I'd like to try and get involved in that, and then that got me into doing more musicals and starting to get interested in maybe being an actor, maybe being part of a creative team. And then I took a year. I was studying at the Boston Conservatory, where they had a course to allow us to explore, what career paths interest you that are not just becoming an orchestral musician, because that's like the thing. If you're studying classical music, it's like, you're going to become an orchestral musician or nothing.
Right.
So it was a class to help explore other options, and we talked about what skills we have, what things that interest us, and I started mapping out these things. Okay, what are my interests? What are my skills? And realized that the perfect combination of those is musical director for musical theater. It's like, maybe I should try some of that.
Nice. Cool. And you were doing that. You just got back.
Yeah, this was this past year. So as soon as I got back, I started asking around for all the companies I knew if there were. Are you starting a new production? Do you need a musical director? So I heard from Contact Theater that you had openings for a musical director and assistant musical director, and I'm also right now musical director for the McGill Savoy Society.
Yeah.
We're starting a production.
Yeah, so can you tell me a little bit what it's like? Because Savoy, especially, we're going to talk more about this show in particular in a second, but Savoy, especially, for people who don't know, Savoy is an operetta company, and they do Gilbert and Sullivan, which is awesome, and very different, though, from REEFER in particular, from a lot of musical theater, but from REEFER in particular, which is like a very modern show, too, so like it's the way that music is structured itself is completely different. The way that music interacts with the show, I think, is very different.
Yeah. So
what's that like for you working on these two kind of very different shows, and how do you kind of navigate that in your brain at the same time?
Oh, that's a very good question. You didn't put that one on the list.
I'm sorry, I tend to get excited.
One of the big things is the fact that music is used kind of differently in both. Where in operettas, a lot of the music is going to be these arias, these songs that the characters sing to like express themselves. So like you'll have a story scene, and then story stops, character sings at the audience, and so on. So that kind of music works very differently than in musical theater, and a show like REEFER Madness, where there's a lot of songs where plot happens during the song. There's a lot of character progression, plot progression, things that happen in the middle of the song, so suddenly the mood will change, the tempo will change, and that's that requires a very different approach, but I'm not exactly sure I can phrase what that is right now.
That's fair. That's fair. It's a hard question.
Yeah, there's definitely, in operettas, there's definitely a bigger priority given on musicality, on like, all right, getting the musical structure of the phrase, getting like a nice sound and making sure the song is performed as best as it could, whereas in musical theater, a lot more attention is given to the performance too. You can sacrifice a little bit of musical technique or lyricism if it helps drive the emotion of the scene more.
Yeah.
Because that is more the priority I've noticed in musicals versus operas and operettas.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, that's one thing I like about Giancarlo, though, our music director, is he also comes from more of like a classical background. So it's interesting working with him because I think like it's like a fun balance with this group of like, yes, especially with how zany this show is, I think there's like definitely moments where we give some freedom to the actors and we want to play around a little bit to kind of lean into the show, or even, playing with like some of our tempos, being on purpose a little bit off potentially, beats like that are a lot of fun. But at the same time, what I think both you and Giancarlo bring, which is really fun, is like this really like hyper focus on the music itself and understanding of the music itself and how it's structured, and like commitment to that, which I really appreciate as a director because it's something I am always learning about more technique and music, and that's been really helpful for me as a director of musical theater. But like I think it's something that it's really nice having people in the room that like that's kind of their priority. So switching gears a little bit and talking more specifically about our particular show, what kind of drew you to Reefer Madness? Like why was this show something you were particularly excited about doing?
The simple answer is because it's about weed.
Yeah.
It's a show about weed, and it's very, very silly, and it's wonderful. There's one aspect of this, which is that what drew me to Reefer Madness was more the company that was putting it on, wanting to work with you guys again, after having done Bonnie and Clyde, and then almost doing Chicago. So close.
It's okay. We'll get over it one day.
One day.
Right, it's okay. Anyways, it's fine.
Yeah, anyways.
Reefer Madness, future.
Yes, the Reefer Madness. So, wanting to be more involved with Contact Theater with you guys, with the wonderful work you do, and then learning that, it's a show about weed, satirizing this propaganda film from the 30s. Like, yes! Oh my god, that sounds amazing! Also, how the hell is that going to work? Because up until then, to me, Contact Theater was like, oh no, we're going to do the serious musicals. We're going to be like the dramatic musical company in Montreal. And then, no, we're going to do this very silly musical.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yes, I want to see how that's going to happen.
I think that's been like a lot of fun about working on the show especially because people didn't get to see Chicago, which is like arguably a less serious show than like Bonnie and Clyde and Next to Normal even. A little less. I mean, there's still death, but like dramatized, ridiculous death. Yes. Not so much actual grief and mourning and dealing with those things.
It's I guess shot at the very beginning for
but then is like immediately up and dancing in the next scene. So it changes the way that reads a bit. I think it's been like so fun. Also, just like thinking about shows that like push boundaries that are not always necessarily like in the classic, like, darker side of theater, which I think has really, really been a lot of fun on working on this show. So you brought up also the fact, though, that you're, like, attracted to the show because of weed. So I'm curious, how has, like, cannabis use, like, affected your life in particular?
It's been a very fun thing to do with people, mostly. That's generally how it started. And I'm not a very frequent weed user, but when I'm with a group of friends and somebody lights up a joint, I'm like, yes, okay, let's do this. And I'll take a couple hits. And it's just, to me, it's been about the same thing as with alcohol. It's like a thing I'll have a little bit of socially to like get a nice fun buzz going and have a good time. That's about it. Yeah. Although recently I got into having some edibles at home. So like when I have, especially these days when I've gotten so busy, when I have a day where I fully have nothing, I know that evening after dinner I'm having an edible and I'm just
relaxing.
Yeah.
Aside from THC, have you ever tried CBD or CBG or any of those? And like, what's your experience been like with that? If you have,
you couldn't possibly say because they do not pay attention. You just
inhale whatever.
Exactly.
Right.
That's
good
just
lesson. Good lesson for our friends at home.
Yeah, there you go. Don't check what you're consuming.
Just kidding.
Yeah, no, be very careful.
Yeah. But CBD, for people who don't know, is like basically like it's like a medicinal property of that same plant as marijuana, but it doesn't have like the THC, which is what makes us high. So it's like, for instance, I actually love CBD edibles sometimes when I have a really long day and I'm like super dead at the end of it. because it's not necessarily that I want to be like super stoned. I don't really like edibles personally that much, but like it's more that I just want to like relax, and like that's been like a fun thing I have discovered in the past few years. And there's like really cool like local businesses too that like sell CBD stuff. So I'm gonna get you some. I'm gonna tell you very clearly what's on it. I'm gonna make sure it's labeled.
Yeah. There we go.
Doses are very clear.
Perfect. Yes.
I got you.
Be safe. Watch what you take.
Do we have any audience questions for music directors in particular, or for Noah? Yeah.
Do it. Do it anyways. All right. If you don't feel like you're particularly strong as a singer, that's okay. First of all, you might be better than you think. You don't know. Give it a shot. Second, especially in amateur and community theater companies, musical directors are aware that they'll have a varying level of singing ability. This is something that I'm aware of as musical director and assistant musical director. Some people don't know how to sing as well as others. They maybe just didn't have the same kind of training. They didn't study music, or they didn't have any vocal training, and that's okay. Part of our job is to help out with that. So Giancarlo, our musical director for REEFER Madness, is an absolutely amazing vocal coach. So he does a lot of great work with singers. I am not, but I have studied singing. So even my own ability is to like, okay, you're not comfortable with your singing ability. That's okay. Let's work with this. Let's talk it out. Let's figure out what's working, what's not working. So go for it anyways. With the knowledge that musical directors know that that's a factor, and they tend to listen for potential rather than current ability. They could say, okay, not the strongest singer right now, but I can see that they never sang before, so we can work with this.
Yeah, and I would even add to that too. I would add like do it, and also like don't be afraid to like go out there and get training. There's lots of good vocal coaches in the city. So like if musical theater is something you're really interested in, and you're a really strong dancer, or you're a really strong actor, and you really want to like compete for like some of those more difficult parts, like I think there's like kind of a misconception that singing is like a natural born talent.
Yeah, no.
That you just come out singing beautifully and perfectly and knowing how to read music and stuff, and that's not true for anyone. Like even the really great performers that we have in this show, you know, a lot of them have been training for a long time to get those voices. So anyone can really learn how to sing, even if you're like one of those people that's like, I could never sing. Like, it's just a matter of like, decide if it's something you really want to do. I definitely recommend investing some time and some money actually into it, because it is a thing with coaching. Like it is a resource thing, and that is a barrier for some people. So community theater is also a great place to start and meet people and get to know people that are good vocal coaches out there. Because then you can get access to new people and learn some important skills. For sure. I mean, I think there's definitely a lot of pressure, especially for some shows. You feel a lot of pressure to be like a triple threat. Like there's some shows that really do require everyone to be a really strong actress, really strong singer, really strong dancer, and that's challenging. And if you really want to work in musical theater professionally, like you definitely, number one thing I say, same as vocals, like you have to get training. No one, just as they're not born a natural singer, no one's born a natural actor, no one's born a natural dancer. Like yes, some people might be starting with like a slight better flexibility or slight better like understanding of their body because they did yoga or something like that, which is also actually really great. I would recommend that as a starting point to just get in touch with your body for actors and for dancers. But training, there's lots of good opportunities for training for adults, even in Montreal or wherever you're at watching this. Definitely do some research online. Adult drop-in dance studios are always a good place to start, because that way you can try a few different styles, try a few different teachers, find someone you really want to work with. Privates are also obviously great if you can do that, but that can also be a bit more of a barrier for people. So I definitely recommend checking out what's going on in your city. Any training is good training. I really think like that's not necessarily true as I said that, but getting a variety of training is the best thing you can do. That's what I usually recommend. Like try and learn from a bunch of different people if you can. So whether that's taking a bunch of different types of dance classes, whether that's taking vocal lessons, but then also working in a community theater production, maybe to kind of learn how to work in an alto line, for instance, and how to work in harmony with people. It's really one of those things that I think a lot of it's best learned by doing and best learned by training. So like the two things together in conjoinment, I think are the best way to get yourself those auditions. But also keep in mind that there's a lot of shows that have a lot of roles that don't necessarily sing as much or don't necessarily dance as much. So also know your type, know what you're good at, work on your strengths, keep training your weaknesses, but also learn to lean into those strengths. Know what auditions are maybe the right audition for you. Like if you've only ever done 3 ballet classes, maybe you're not going to audition for like a production of West Side and want to get into the wet jets, you know, like that's probably not a place that's going to necessarily suit you. But, you know, if you're an incredible actor and you know that there's a show that has this really fun role that doesn't actually have to sing too much, then go for it and know your type, know what you can bring to the table and lean into that and be confident in it. Well, this has been so much fun. Thanks for sitting down, chatting, having some basement banter with me.
Yes.
I'm really excited. And you're going to be playing in the show as well.
Yes.
So we get to see you on stage.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Again, playing God knows how many reed instruments.
Yeah, so you have to come see him juggling through like 6 different reeds. See you soon. Thanks so much.